Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. We have a special guest, Rosa Calderon, and she's running for Congress in California's 4th District. She's a geoscientist, activist, and a single mother. Let's welcome Rosa Calderon. Thanks for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
So now I saw that you are endorsed by Our Revolution and by the Justice Democrat. Can you tell me how that came about?
Well, we're endorsed by Justice Democrats. One of the things that Justice Democrats was doing, which I thought was a great way to get candidates, was that a candidate couldn't just simply apply. You actually had to be nominated, someone who had progressive values, and just people in the community would nominate you to Justice Democrats, and then they would do their due diligence and actually reach out to you, interview you. The entire process took a few months. Once they were absolutely certain that I was a progressive candidate in this race, I was selected to be on their slate.
So what makes you progressive, and why do you want to run in what everyone considers to be a red district?
So this district alone has 10 counties, and within this district alone, 7 out of those 10 counties actually went to Bernie last election, in the presidential election, 2016. So the populist message actually goes further than a lot of people think. And in fact, as I'm canvassing right now, as we're knocking on doors, as we're making phone calls, I still have not heard one person tell me that they hate Bernie. And in fact, I hear the opposite. I hear people who say, you know, if it would have been between Trump and Bernie, it would have been a tougher choice. I really like that guy. And when they talk about bringing our jobs back, and that's one thing that Trump and Bernie said simultaneously, but just a different way of actually getting those jobs back here and how to secure the livelihood of the American people. And it goes beyond the jobs. It goes into Medicare for all, bringing actual health care that doesn't put people into bankruptcy, and being able to provide an education for our children that it's not going to be dictated by the zip code that you live in.
So you were for Medicare for all then?
Correct, yes.
And you're running as a Democrat, but, you know, the Democrats already control a supermajority in California's legislature. Now, I know you're not running for state legislature, but in California, the Democratic Party controls it. And even we have a Democratic governor, and they just can't find a way to do single payer. What do you say to that?
I am actually really glad that you asked this question, and I have been an advocate for SB 562 here within the state, and it's for people who don't live in California. It is our version of Medicare expansion for all within the state of California, single-payer healthcare. But we have a majority, like you said. Unfortunately, not every Democrat actually behaves like a Democrat. And in fact, it was Anthony Rendon here within our own state who blocked the bill from continuing to move forward, even after it had already passed the Appropriations Committee, which looks to find where that money is going to come from. And it just stopped there before it had ever made it to Governor Brown. And it's something that we need to really think about, because it's not just the Republicans or the GOP who are within the pockets of huge pharmaceutical companies or huge healthcare companies, because they actually profit from it themselves here as well. As Democrats, we have a lot of Democrats who receive those corporate kickbacks. And so they block a lot of legislation from going forward that really helps Americans, but helps them get reelected.
So the DCCC said that they're targeting this race. Now, what does that mean? That now the DCCC is the Democratic Congressional what does the three C's stand for? Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. That's it.
Yes.
And the DCCC. And so they say they're targeting this district, this race. What does that mean?
So good. I actually don't know what that means. This district is a plus 15 district. Congressman Tom McClintock has been able to.
So can you tell people what that means? Plus 15.
Yes, it means that he has won by over 15% every single time. So last election, he won by 62%. 62% of the people here voted for him. When you look at the numbers, the Republicans outnumber the Democrats, I think, by almost 10%. And then there's a large group of independents who usually, depending on the issues, end up voting Republican or Democrat. And so we get a small sliver of that. And every election, at least for the past few the few runs, we have been able to get 36, 37, 38% of the vote, but then the rest just goes to McClintock. And then there's a very small portion that goes just to an independent. But outside of that, the numbers here don't really say that this is a winnable race. The DCCC is looking at us as a targeted district to make sure that we actually have the tools to organize and prepare ourselves to actually flip this district in the future. And that's something that Labor was looking at too. So I know that the DCCC and the DNC are actually targeting progressive candidates and asking them to sit out of races. And if not, as we saw with Laura Moser in Texas, they are actually campaigning against progressive candidates. And they're only looking at money. They're only looking at making sure that you fit in that establishment mold, that you're going to do what they say when you get into office, and that you're going to make those call time phone calls to get them some money.
So now, how many Democrats are you running against?
I am running against 3 Democrats in this district, an independent and a Republican, and of course, the incumbent.
So I thought McClintock was stepping down, no?
He is not stepping down. We actually had a retirement party for him, and just to see if we could encourage him, but he did not. And so we have a Republican who's challenging him, an independent. McClintock, he's had a stronghold in this district for a long, long time, and he actually hasn't done anything for our people in this district except for name 2 post offices, and that's in almost 10 years. So people here are not happy with the work he has done in general. In fact, when we're knocking on doors and speaking to voters, we do hear the fact that a lot of Republicans are ready for change. They're ready for someone else. But that change must come in the form of someone who speaks on the issues and represents the values of this community, rather than just this partisanship that we see in Congress, especially when they hardline to these positions where they don't do anything for us. And in fact, we're left as a public, we're left in this crossfire, and we're the biggest losers.
And so what do you offer the people of the 4th District of California?
So I'm the only candidate who can say that I grew up here. I chose to raise my family here, and I started my first business here. So I have lived here, and I've seen the issues. When the recession hit, I was one of the people who lost their job, lost their home, lost their marriage, and I had to reinvent myself. I started a small business. I went back to school. I ended up finishing my degree in geosciences as a geographer, and I've been working up and down California, working on the bark beetle infestation problem that is plaguing our public lands right now. We have over 125 million dead trees in California. No grant money from FEMA right now to help us combat this problem. And we have a sitting congressperson who wants to open up our public lands for mining and drilling. The other thing that has been able to connect me with the people of this district is education. Everybody here wants to have good quality education for their children, and they are also tired of the fact that equity is not available because it depends on the zip code that you live in. And that's something that I had to struggle in. I've been an activist almost my entire life since we lost the House the first time when Al Gore lost. And I've been advocating on early childhood education policy, environmental policy, and of course, healthcare. As I mentioned, that I've been canvassing for SB 562 and even spoke at the Appropriations Committee in favor of the bill.
And how do people respond in your district when you tell them you're for Medicare for all and SB 562? How do people respond when you talk to them?
So I actually spoke to it's an interesting story, but the state of Jefferson is a group here in California who actually wants to secede from California because of lack of representation. So they want to create the 51st state. And when I was speaking to them about healthcare, one of the things that I brought up is that there's security and safety in numbers, right? So they know and they agree that our healthcare coverage costs are just outrageous, that the ACA, of course, while it was a great start, it just didn't do enough to really help people pay for this healthcare. So even though we have access, it's not affordable. And for many people like myself and many others, actually, we decide to just opt out and pay the fee at the end of the year. But now with the new tax bill that they put through, that they included that in there, that's not going to be a mandate anymore. They're looking at ways how we can actually afford healthcare. And it's not going to be those extravagant numbers that we were so used to seeing and okay with paying. And so when I talked to them about those things, they said that when they create their 51st state, that they would have a plan for everybody who lives within that 51st state. And I said, well, that's called single payer healthcare. You're going to have everyone pay into this one system. It's going to reduce costs, and it's going to open access to everyone. And it's not going to be this outrageous price. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, we're talking about saving for the United States, if we were able to get single payer healthcare, we're looking at over $520 billion in savings over the next decade. So it's huge, the numbers that we could actually save. And I talked to them about, their healthcare coverage at work. How many times do they actually go to the doctor? Did they start abusing healthcare just because they had access to it? And they of course they say no. And I say that's the majority of the people as well. So it's something that is getting across to a lot of people. I know that when they were trying to get rid of the ACA here locally, that would have impacted 76,000 people within this district alone. And McClintock was the only congressperson who flipped from from no to yes. And that was on the call of the Koch brothers when they said that they wouldn't be funding anyone unless they voted to repeal Obamacare once it was bad enough that it would actually hurt more people than it actually helped in the beginning, which was over 25 million people.
So you are a progressive. You're a Bernie Sanders progressive. You don't take corporate money. You don't take corporate PAC money, correct?
Absolutely. No corporate money, no corporate PAC money, no lobbying money, no special interests. So my big thing has been, I want to represent the people of this district, and I want to make sure that your $1 is of more value than getting $5,000 from any PAC or $10,000 from combined PACs. And so that's what we've done. We've done $1 campaigns. We have nearly 7,000 individual donations. They've all been small dollar donations.
That's a lot. That's a lot, right? That's 7,000.
It is. It's huge. When you look at how much money I actually have versus my opponents, you can see that their numbers are a lot larger, but they've collected that with less than 1,000 donors. And
right.
I'm talking about over 500,000.
Right.
And so you start to wonder, how did they get all that money and who's giving it to them? And then you look at in-district and out-district money that's coming in. And I'm sitting at the top of how much money is coming in from within the district. All of my donations, over 67% are coming from within the district. I think I'm at 81% within the state. And then the rest is trickling, outside of California. But I have even one opponent that's even worse than Trump. Than McClintock. We call him McTrump, but McClintock, at least he gets 29% of his donations in district. But one of my opponents, she gets, I think, less than 15% of her donations are from within the district. And you start to wonder, who are you really representing, right? Because if those donations are going to ask for you to repay those favors, or they are very excited about the values that you stand up for, then why isn't that money coming from within the district?
All right. So you get your money within the district. You're not taking corporate money or corporate PAC money. You're for Medicare for all. You're a Bernie Sanders progressive. Rosa Calderon, thanks for coming on the show and letting people know about your candidacy. We wish you all the best of luck. We support progressives wherever they are. So good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. Have a good day.
Okay, you too. Hey, make sure you're subscribed to The Jimmy Dore Show. It only takes a second to check. They're unsubscribing people every day. Make sure you're still subscribed and then click that bell so you get a notice when we drop new videos. We have a live show March 26th. That's a Monday in Austin, Texas, and March 30th in Burbank, California. And if you can become a patron to help support the show, we'd really appreciate it. Thanks for your support.